Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. Excuse my voice, it was my birthday last week and I got sick the day after, so you're just gonna have to bear with this voice for today. But yes, welcome to another video. There was a hearing on the Idaho versus Kohberger case on the 30th of May, and we have some updates. It was a long hearing, it lasted almost 4 hours. I decided to make some notes and make a little summary, a little recap for all of us. I wanted to simplify it a little bit for all those who don't want to listen to it, that don't have the time to listen to it. If you think I missed something or misreported something, feel free to let me know in the comments below. We want to do this right. So what was this motion hearing about? Well, we heard two testimonies. One from Detective Payne and one from an expert witness, Cy Ray. Payne testified first. He was the lead detective on the Idaho versus Kohberger case. He also wrote the probable cause affidavit, which you can find, as always, in the description box below. So, first of all, Payne confirmed that yes, he was the lead detective, the case agent, the person in charge. He conducted interviews, searched for the suspect, he wrote affidavits and warrants, but he didn't really have that much to do with evidence. He was not involved in the collection of videos and other types of evidence that was done by individual investigators. They allegedly collected those and gave them to the digital forensics office. But Payne doesn't know where those videos are now. There's a lot of things that Payne doesn't know, and that's not a jab at him, but more so at the mess that this investigation is. Most people don't seem to know what evidence they have and where that evidence is located. Last time, FBI Detective Agent Mowry testified. He was also one of the detectives who worked with Payne. But Mowry basically said that when he was doing his work, he made some screenshots, but he didn't really save his work properly. So yes, he produced work, but he doesn't really have the process of how exactly he got to his results. But let's go back to Payne. So Anne Taylor was questioning him about different things, about the video evidence. They have video evidence from several businesses, even some private residences. They have a lot of it. And where that evidence is now, Payne doesn't know. He just thinks it's somewhere with the Moscow PD. Somewhere. When they discussed these locations, the videos from these locations, they did mention some specific places. One of the videos that they used as evidence came from the Red Star Coffee Company, and the other one from Mundy's Machine. Those are these two places that you can see on screen right now. They briefly discussed how the search was expanded from 2011 to 13 Elantras to 2014 to 16 Elantras. Payne basically stated what he stated in the affidavit. They expanded the search with the help of an expert who reviewed those videos of those cars, but he doesn't have any additional information, so we pretty much heard what we saw in the PCA. From the PCA, we also know that two separate Washington State University officers located BK's Elantra on the same day. But one officer queried the Elantras, and that's how BK's Elantra came up in the system, and the other one saw what we are assuming is BK's Elantra, though it's never specifically stated, but it was parked in front of his apartment complex. Payne was in contact with one of those officers, but not prior to December 20th, 2022. And the Elantra was seen and queried by the Washington State officers on November 29th. Next, cell phone records were provided to Payne by FBI agent Balance. I think that's his name, that's how I heard them pronounce it. And he deciphered the information since Payne is not an expert in cell phone data analysis. And the terminology, the language that Payne used to write his PCA, he states that that was also suggested to him or provided to him by these FBI agents who are knowledgeable on this. He relied on them throughout the whole process quite a lot when it comes to the collection of data, interpretation of data, working on the affidavit. I mean, it's understandable, but at the same time, if so much was done by the FBI, it kind of explains why not even the state has all the evidence and the data that the defense is requesting of them. And the last very interesting thing that came out of Payne's mouth was this. There are various routes out of Moscow that the perpetrator could have taken. Depicted or presented in the PCA is just one of them, one of the possible ones. But even though they have reviewed a lot of the videos from residences and businesses along all of these routes, not a single video, to Payne's recollection, depicts BK's car. Next to testify was Cy Ray, who is an expert witness. He is a former police officer who specializes in analyzing cell phone data in criminal cases. So he's analyzing BK's phone records, he's checking where his phone went, how it got there, the possible routes it took, and he would like to, at least, try to compare his findings to the results that the FBI agents, to the conclusions that the FBI agents came to. CDRs, or call detail records, indicate where a phone traveled. I'm taking this from Cy Ray's testimony. But then there's also the drive test data, which helps investigators be more specific at determining and interpreting the CDR data. When all of the data is mapped, emphasis on all, they can pretty accurately determine a phone's movement and location. So going back to Maury for a second, in his testimony, he stated that he did not use an AT&T tower list to create his exhibit, which would be this map in the PCA. It shows a possible route based on cellular device location. But Cy Ray claims that it's not possible to create this kind of map without an AT&T tower list. So where is this piece of evidence? Because he hasn't seen it yet. He also talks about the fact that if he wanted to replicate Maury's work, he would need the exact AT&T tower list that Maury used. Otherwise, the results could vary. Now, Ray says that he received 4 different versions of the tower list, believed to have been used by Maury. So that's for 4 months, but there are 2 missing. He's basically saying it would be good to have, well, all of them, all 6 months, and potentially an additional one, to have all the data and to be able to compare and get the full picture. They also talk about the drive testing. This was done to create the cast draft that the defense received. Now remember, they received the draft only. We'll get back to that later. And something important that he pointed out in regards to the drive test is that he estimates that the defense, received most of the data, but about 2 to 3% are missing. Now this doesn't seem like a lot, but it would be an important 2 to 3%, because they have the neighborhood around the crime scene, but not the crime scene itself. Yeah, the drive test data was collected across the span of a few days, and 2 machines were used. 2 devices, drive test scanners. These machines need to be calibrated first, and what the defense have is the calibration records prior to their use, but they would also like to have the records after they were used. Ray pointed out that if the device is not calibrated properly, shocker, the results could be wrong. It might not be properly collecting the AT&T data. In regards to the call detail records, Ray just states that basically, something that common sense could tell you. It's important to map all the data, every single connection, to do your job thoroughly. Makes sense if you want to do things right, especially in a case like this. Mr. Ray points out that the FBI agents who were doing this research mapped less than 80% of the connections in their chosen time frames. Less than 80. To sum it up, a ton of stuff is missing, but what else is new? Then we hear a little bit from the other defense attorney, Ms. Massoth. She really brought the fire. She was having none of it. She basically told the judge at one point, okay, judge, take control of this, order them to hand over the evidence because we can't do our job properly without it. We've been asking for it since forever.
You have control to get these issues that we're struggling with fixed by saying, this is my order, produce it, or there's going to be a sanction.
You may be overestimating my power.
I think you're underestimating your power.
Well,
the reason why they need this information is because they are trying to build a timeline, and they are trying to understand what the state knew, when did they know it. They're trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. So then Anne Taylor went step by step over what they are requesting, why they are requesting, specifically what they have from a certain piece of evidence and what they are still lacking. But the judge, for a second, it did not seem like he was listening.
We came to the court asking for the cast report, knowing it was relied upon last year, and the court ordered that we receive it. We received one that was stamped draft all over it. You've heard testimony about that today from Mr. Ray, and it's not a final report. And we knew that when we got it. We asked for that. We asked for the analysis behind that, and we haven't received that.
A few moments later.
So another clarifying question, maybe. So I listened to the testimony today, and that it sounded like a cast report was provided, but maybe it wasn't complete. Didn't you get initially what they had as they characterized as the cast report?
Remember when I told you about the draft of the cast report? How did they know it was a draft and not the final report? Well, because she said it literally had draft stamped all over it. It was very obvious that it wasn't the final version. She asked for the final report and the analysis behind it. They're still waiting for it. And after the defense provided BK's alibi, the state said, only after that, the state said, oh, now we have to finish something with the cast report, which makes no sense, or at the very least, it raises eyebrows. Why hasn't the cast report been finished yet? Why are you finishing it now, after you've received the alibi from BK? Ultimately, the state did agree that they would, I guess, search for that evidence, and if they do find something, they will hand it over. They will try to locate what the defense wants from them. The case is kind of moving, even though it's not actually moving, but yeah, baby steps, I suppose. We'll have to wait and see what happens next. But let me know if you guys watched or listened to this hearing. What did you guys think? Let me know everything in the comments down below. Don't forget to leave a like. I make varied kind of content. You never know what I might post. You also don't know when I post because my schedule is all over the place. But yes, subscribe if you enjoy the content, and I will be seeing you soon. Take care, guys.